Have you ever had that gut feeling like something just isn't adding up, even though he's saying all the right things? You're not crazy. You're not overthinking. You're sensing the truth behind the lies, because here's the hard truth. Some men lie, not always with words, but with intentions. And those lies, they're not always obvious. They come wrapped in charm, late night texts, and just enough attention to keep you guessing. But guess what? Today, that stops. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain on the 6 most common lies men tell women. Lies that might sound sweet, but are secretly robbing you of clarity, confidence, and emotional peace. These aren't harmless fakes. They're emotional traps that waste your time, confuse your heart, and keep you stuck in situationships that go nowhere. You're going to hear the phrases exactly as they're said, learn what they really mean, and more importantly, how to respond like a woman who knows her worth. Whether you're single, dating, or healing from someone who said just enough to keep you around, this video is for you. You'll walk away with clarity, strategy, and the kind of mindset that no man can manipulate. Because when you know the game, you can't be played. So grab your tea, lock in, and let's dive into the lies you need to stop falling for, starting now. I'm just not ready for a relationship. At first, this sounds honest, respectable, even. You might appreciate the vulnerability, thinking, at least he's being upfront. But here's the catch. Men don't say this to women they truly see a future with. They say it to women they want to keep close, without making a commitment. The real problem isn't that he's not ready. The problem is that he doesn't want to be ready with you. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth that saves you from wasting months or years waiting for potential that never arrives. Here's what's really happening when a man says this. He's buying time. He wants the comfort of your presence, the emotional benefits of closeness, maybe even the physical perks, but without the responsibility. It's the ultimate gray zone. He gets all the good stuff without any of the real effort or emotional accountability. And yes, sometimes men truly are healing, building, or figuring themselves out. But when a man truly sees you as the one, he will not risk losing you with a vague excuse like this. Even if he's not ready for the full picture yet, he will be clear about wanting to grow into it with you. So why do so many women believe this lie? Because it offers hope. It keeps the door cracked open. You tell yourself, maybe if I'm patient, maybe if I love him enough, maybe when his life settles down, he'll choose me. But you are not a placeholder. You are not a pit stop while he decides if commitment is convenient. Men know this line buys sympathy. They know it delays the conversation. It puts the pressure back on you, not to ask for more, not to demand clarity, not to push forward. It subtly says, I want you around, but I don't want to be accountable for how I treat you. That's not love. That's control dressed up as honesty. And the worst part, the longer you stay, the more attached you become. You'll start shrinking your needs, avoiding the talk, and convincing yourself that your patience is a virtue, when really it's fear. Fear of losing him, fear of starting over, fear of being alone. But what's more dangerous, being alone for a little while, or building a fantasy around someone who's already told you he can't give you what you want. A man who is unsure about you is already giving you a clear answer. Instead of trying to prove you're worth the relationship, flip the script. Ask yourself, why am I offering loyalty to someone who already told me he won't match it? You don't need to chase potential. You need clarity, effort, and emotional availability. Now, not someday. So the next time you hear I'm just not ready, believe, then walk away, not because you're giving up, but because you're making space for the man who's already ready for you. You're the only one I'm talking to. Sounds comforting, right? It's the kind of statement that quiets your suspicions, makes you feel secure, and convinces you that what you're building is exclusive, even if it hasn't been officially labeled yet. But here's the reality. If he has to say it before showing it, chances are it's not the truth. This is one of the most casually used lies in modern dating, especially in the era of swipe culture and talking stages that drag on forever. A man knows exactly what this sentence does. It lowers your guard. It makes you feel special. It suggests he's putting everyone else aside just to focus on you. But often it's a verbal shortcut to intimacy, not a reflection of real commitment. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When a man is genuinely focused on you and only you, his actions don't leave you guessing. He doesn't need to say this line out of nowhere, because you'll already feel it. His consistency, communication, and presence will make it obvious. You won't need to ask, is he seeing someone else? Because there's no space for that doubt to live. But when this line is dropped early, especially without you asking, it's often a preemptive defense, a subtle way to manipulate your expectations, make you feel guilty for having doubts, and prevent you from asking more questions later. It's like he's buying your trust in advance without earning it. The truth is, many men keep their options open while telling women what they think will keep them emotionally invested. And it's not always about malicious intent. It's often about ego, convenience, and control. Telling you that you're the only one gives him emotional exclusivity from you, while he keeps exploring other options behind the scenes. And here's where it gets more dangerous. Once you believe this lie, you start acting like you're already in a committed situation. You stop talking to other people. You start prioritizing him emotionally. You give girlfriend energy without ever being claimed as one. That puts him in a position of power. He gets the benefit of exclusivity from you without having to give it back. Women get stuck here because we want to believe it. We want to feel chosen. But don't mistake flattering words for actual exclusivity. If his words and actions don't align, believe the behavior. Is he consistent? Is he transparent? Or is he hard to reach on weekends, always busy and emotionally vague? Also, if you do ask and his tone shifts, if he becomes defensive, avoids the conversation, or flips it back on you like you're being insecure, take that as your answer. Real commitment doesn't hide in the shadows or get offended by clarity. You deserve the truth. You deserve certainty, not confusion. And if someone is truly only talking to you, it won't be a line. They'll back it up with clear actions, respect, and real-world consistency. Words are easy. Loyalty is proven. Don't settle for a promise when you deserve proof. My ex is just a friend now. The moment you hear that, your instincts probably kick in. Something feels off, but you don't want to seem jealous or insecure. So you silence that little voice inside and try to trust him. After all, people can be friends with their exes, right? Yes, they can. But context is everything. And so are intentions. This line is often used as a shield to deflect your discomfort without addressing the full truth. When a man tells you his ex is just a friend, you have to ask yourself, why is he telling me this? Did you bring it up first? Did he get defensive when you asked about her? Does he downplay the past but still keep her in his present? Here's where this lie becomes dangerous. It's not always about what's happening on the surface. It's about what's still emotionally unresolved underneath. A so-called friendship with an ex might still carry old attachments, unfinished feelings, or even the possibility of rekindling things if you and him hit a rough patch. The truth is, most people don't stay close friends with their exes unless they're still emotionally entangled in some way. That doesn't mean they're hooking up, but emotional availability is still compromised. And if he's turning to her for support, connection, or validation while building something new with you, that's emotional cheating, even if it's dressed up as friendship. And here's the other piece. If there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to be vague about. If he's dodgy when you ask questions, or if he minimizes your feelings by saying things like, "You're overthinking it," that's not reassurance, it's deflection. A man who respects you will acknowledge your concerns and protect the relationship, not the past. A truly healed man doesn't need to keep his ex in his inner circle. Respect, sure. Closure, of course. But daily texting, inside jokes, or keeping her as emotional backup, that's not friendship. That's a safety net. And you deserve more than to be someone's new beginning while he's still emotionally parked in the past. Many women ignore this red flag because they don't want to come off as controlling. But setting boundaries isn't controlling, it's healthy. If a man still has his ex hovering in the background, the real question is there even room for you? Emotionally, mentally, or even energetically? This lie thrives in vague zones. That's why it's powerful. He doesn't have to cheat physically. He just has to keep you confused long enough to stop you from asking deeper questions. So don't be afraid to pay attention to the signs. Does he light up when her name comes up? Does he compare you to her? Is she still involved in his life in ways that feel too close for comfort? If something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't. And if he really values you, he'll let go of what's behind him, not hold on to it and expect you to pretend it's normal. Your peace matters. Don't let someone else's "just a friend" cost you your sanity. I'm too busy for anything serious. At first glance, this sounds practical, logical, almost responsible. You might even respect it, thinking he's just being honest about where he's at in life. But behind this polished excuse lies one of the most common emotional smokescreens men use to avoid commitment without looking like the bad guy. Because here's the truth. No one is ever too busy for someone they truly want to build with. When a man says this, what he's really doing is managing your expectations while keeping you around. It gives him the perfect out. He can enjoy your attention, your affection, even your loyalty, without ever having to show up fully. And the worst part, he makes it seem like it's about his schedule, when it's really about his priorities. Everyone is busy, We all have careers, goals, families, distractions, and full calendars. But somehow the right person always finds a way to make time, even if it's in small, meaningful moments. Because effort is never about time, it's about intention. And a man who's genuinely serious about you will make space for you in his life, not keep pushing you to the sidelines. But this line works so well because it doesn't sound like a lie. It sounds mature. It sounds like a guy who's just focused. So you convince yourself to be patient. You lower your expectations. You tell yourself he'll come around when work slows down, or when he finishes that project, or when life calms down. But guess what? Life never slows down. There's always something. And while you're waiting for him to be ready, you're putting yourself on hold. You're shrinking your needs to fit his convenience. You're offering girlfriend-level support with situationship-level effort from him. This lie is strategic because it's hard to argue with. If you express that you want more, he'll say, I told you I wasn't ready. You knew what this was. And just like that, he dodges accountability. He gets to be honest, while you're left emotionally drained, confused, and wondering what more you could have done. Let's be clear, if he can text you late at night, hang out when it suits him, lean on you for emotional support, and keep you emotionally tied to him, he has plenty of time. He's not too busy. He's just not willing to prioritize something serious with you. You are not a filler for his empty hours. You are not a break between meetings or a late night option when his schedule is clear. You are not someone who should be waiting for him to finally choose you. Stop romanticizing emotional unavailability. Stop mistaking breadcrumbs for effort. A man who's too busy for a relationship is a man who's too busy to deserve your emotional energy. And when someone tells you they don't have time for something serious, believe them, but more importantly, remove yourself from the situation before it costs you your peace. I didn't mean to hurt you. This line is slippery because it sounds sincere. It sounds like regret. And sometimes it even sounds like love. But more often than not, it's a way to escape accountability without actually making things right. Let's get one thing straight. Intent does not erase impact. Just because someone didn't mean to hurt you doesn't mean they didn't know what they were doing. And it certainly doesn't mean you should excuse the behavior just because it wasn't labeled intention. When a man says this, he's trying to soften the blow of his actions without stepping up to actually take responsibility for them. It's emotional damage control. He wants to look remorseful without doing the uncomfortable work of self-reflection, apology, and changed behavior. This lie often comes after patterns, not isolated mistakes. He lied. He pulled away. He ignored your feelings. He breadcrumbed you, gaslit you, or crossed a boundary. And when you finally gather the courage to call it out, he hits you with, I didn't mean to hurt you. It's a phrase that shuts down deeper conversation. You're left standing there with your pain fully felt and his guilt quickly dismissed. And here's where it gets more manipulative. This line puts the spotlight back on his intentions instead of your experience. Suddenly, you're defending your feelings. You're over-explaining why it hurt. You're trying to justify your emotions while he's sitting in the comfort of I didn't mean it. But here's the truth. When someone values you, they care about how their actions affect you, even if it wasn't malicious. They don't hide behind intentions. They own their behavior. They ask, what do you need from me to rebuild this? They listen, reflect, and adjust. And the dangerous part of this lie, it hooks into your empathy. You want to believe he didn't mean it. You want to believe it was just a misunderstanding. So you give him another chance. You forgive without change. You silence your pain because he didn't do it on purpose. But how many times do you forgive before you realize that, unintentional or not, the hurt is real and it keeps repeating? At some point, you have to stop measuring someone's worth by their excuses and start measuring it by how they respond to the pain they cause. A man who truly loves you won't just try to avoid hurting you. He'll actively work to make you feel safe, seen, and respected. Not just with words, but with effort and follow through. So the next time someone says, I didn't mean to hurt you, don't just listen to the word. Look at the pattern. Ask yourself, is this regret or is this avoidance? Because apologies without change are just manipulation in disguise. You deserve more than someone who's sorry you're hurt. You deserve someone who makes sure they don't keep hurting you in the first place. You're overreacting. Those three words cut deeper than most insults. Not because they're loud or aggressive, but because they're designed to make you question your own reality. It's not just a lie, it's a manipulation tactic. A subtle, damaging way to shift focus from what he did to how you're responding. When a man says this, he isn't trying to calm you down. He's trying to silence you. He's trying to dismiss your reaction so he doesn't have to examine his behavior. And once he labels you as too emotional, too sensitive, or dramatic, the conversation suddenly becomes about your tone, not his actions. Let that sink in. Your valid feelings get recast as irrational behavior, and he gets to walk away untouched. This lie is particularly dangerous because it doesn't look like an outright betrayal. It's not cheating. It's not lying, at least not in the traditional sense. It's emotional gaslighting, dressed as concern, and over time, hearing this enough can break you down. You start asking yourself, am I being too much? Did I make this a bigger deal than it really is? But no, your emotions are signals, not weaknesses. You feel upset because something crossed a line, because something didn't sit right, because your boundaries were ignored, your voice was shut down, or your intuition was screaming, but he didn't want to hear it. Your overreacting is not just a lie, it's a way to avoid accountability. It puts all the pressure on you to chill out, calm down, or be the bigger person, while he conveniently avoids any responsibility for what triggered you in the first place. And here's the twist. The more you start internalizing this lie, the less you trust yourself. You begin second-guessing every reaction. You start shrinking. You stop bringing things up because you don't want to be that girl, the one who always makes it a problem, the one who's never satisfied. But here's the truth no one tells you. Men who genuinely care about you will never use your emotions against you. They will listen. They will lean in. They will ask questions instead of deflecting blame. Even if they don't fully understand why you're upset, they will respect that you are. A man who keeps calling you crazy or overly emotional every time he crosses a boundary is not a partner. He's a red flag wrapped in smooth language. So the next time someone tells you you're overreacting, ask yourself, is this an overreaction, or is it the only way I can get him to see that something isn't okay? You deserve to feel safe expressing how you feel. You deserve to be heard without being labeled, and you deserve a relationship where communication leads to connection, not control. Trust your feelings, trust your voice, and don't let anyone convince you that your reaction to being mistreated is the real problem. By the time you've heard lie after lie, some subtle, some obvious, it's easy to feel confused, exhausted, and even a little ashamed for falling for them. But here's the truth. It's not your fault. These lies are designed to be convincing. They're designed to tap into your hope, your empathy, your desire to see the best in someone. And that's not weakness, that's heart. But to protect that heart, you need to learn how to spot the patterns before they become pain. The key isn't just listening to what he says, it's watching what he does. Words are easy, they're cheap, but behavior never lies. If his actions are inconsistent, if he keeps shifting blame, dodging accountability, or making you feel like your feelings are the problem, you're not being too much. You're being emotionally manipulated. One pattern to look out for is emotional push-pull. One day he's warm, the next he's distant. He'll say all the right things but then disappear when you need support. That roller coaster isn't passion, it's control. He's keeping you unsure, which makes you easier to manage. Another red flag is the apology cycle. He messes up, you call it out. He apologizes just enough to keep you invested, but nothing changes. If you find yourself forgiving the same behavior over and over again, you're not healing. You're stuck in emotional quicksand. Also notice how often you're explaining your worth. If you constantly feel like you have to prove you're not too sensitive, or that you're worthy of commitment, or that you're easy to love, take a step back. In a healthy connection, love isn't something you have to earn by shrinking yourself. The strongest thing you can do is trust your patterns more than his promises. Does he make you feel safe consistently, or does he always say the right thing after doing the wrong one? You don't need to be perfect to deserve honesty, effort, and respect. You just need to pay attention, believe what you see, and love yourself enough to walk away from someone who keeps showing you confusion instead of clarity. Because once you recognize the patterns, you stop falling for the lies and start rising into the love you truly deserve. Before we wrap up, here's a bonus tip that can truly change how you navigate relationships moving forward. Trust your intuition and act on it. Your gut feeling is your internal compass, finely tuned by every experience you've had. If something feels off, don't brush it aside or make excuses. Instead, pause and ask yourself why you're feeling that way. Sometimes your intuition knows what your mind hasn't fully caught up to yet. Next, set clear boundaries for what you will and won't accept. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the framework for self-respect and healthy connection. When you know your limits and communicate them confidently, you send a clear message that you value yourself and your emotional well-being. Another crucial step, don't rush the process. Real love isn't about jumping into commitment or ignoring red flags just to feel secure. It's about patience, clarity, and mutual effort. Give yourself permission to take your time, observe the patterns, and be honest with yourself about what you need. And remember, you don't have to navigate this alone. Surround yourself with friends, mentors, or communities that uplift you and hold you accountable to your standards. Sometimes an outside perspective can help you see what's invisible when you're emotionally involved. Lastly, if you find yourself stuck in these cycles repeatedly, consider professional support. Therapy or coaching can provide powerful tools to heal past wounds and empower you to make healthier choices. Your love story is yours to write, and it starts with believing you deserve the truth, respect, and happiness. So take these steps, trust your instincts, and don't settle for anything less than what makes your heart truly happy.